Welcome to the Real HD Show intro. Peace, everybody out there in the ethos, all my peoples. Come get this good information on the only show in the land that tries to help you understand and create a master plan. It is the Real HD Show, the higher discussion. That's what HD stands for, higher discussion. And we want you to jump in there, man. So you see the call letters at the bottom, live link, StreamYard.com, Z36 HW69 VCP. Share the show wherever you're watching. And we appreciate your support. And we got another segment to get through before we get to the main channel. But stay tuned for Prime Time with a Purpose. Don't get nervous. We going below the epidermis. We are the Real HD Show. Check it out. We're going to go into our AAT report, Happy, Healthier, and Wiser. Check us out. All right, and we are back. And we are in the middle of our AAT report. And our AAT report was started by an old school day one of mine. And it stands for Aero Aqua Terra. Anything under the air, water, or land, we're going to cover it. We're going to try to make you guys healthy, wealthier, and wiser moving into the rest of the 21st century as much as we possibly can. Why? Because we just got hit with a pandemic, a worldwide epidemic, if you will. And we need all the cellular power we can stand, or at least the information that we can stand. And I want to show you guys something Normally, I would go to Maccabee. Shout out to Maccabee. Thank you, brother, for allowing us to play all your videos on the show. We love your content. Go check him out on Maccabee, his YouTube channel. It's called Maccabee, Maccab. Go patronize him. Go buy his music. Go look at his videos, like, share, and subscribe. You will learn something valuable on his channel. But right here, we're here for the AAT report. That's a healthy, wealthier, and wiser series. And we hope that we are blasting off to all platforms. Well, let's get to it. The dangerous chemical Bill Gates is coating your food with. So I'm going to read a little bit of this to you. It's by a woman by the name of Kristen's Kitchen. She wrote this in April of 2023. So I think it's kind of apropos that we read it. You can't even trust buying organic compounds or produce anymore, thanks to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Katy Perry and Oprah. And we're going to get to Oprah a little bit later. But yeah, Oprah is mixed in this too. There's a new label on your produce, and it's anything but appealing. Wah, 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 waka, waka, right? A peel is a plant-based protection, and that's right, it's spelled APEEL. So it's a plant-based protection that helps the produce you love stay fresh longer. Or that's what they want you to believe. Or in other words, a chemical coating put on your produce, which you can't wash off so it doesn't brown or decompose in a normal amount of time. Exactly how old is that avocado? Unfortunately, if you think choosing organic, you're good to go. Think again. On their website, they state, quote, we have formulations that are OMIR listed for the growers and distributors of USDA certified organic produce. Unquote. They say it helps produce reduce plastic, which might be true, but what exactly is this coating made of? They state on our facts and questions portion of the website that there's only one ingredient, but then go on to say that it's important that it's only composed of food grade multiple ingredients made from plant materials. Let's continue reading. APEL brags about its purified mono and diglycerides, a food ingredient that's found in a variety of foods. Mono and diglycerides are go-to replacement for deadly trans fats and food industry staple that helps keep oil and fat from separating. Explains this additive is a byproduct of oil processing, including partially hydrogenated canola and soybean oils. Okay, we're going to stop there. Because if you've watched the Real HD show at any point in the last month or so, you would have found out that we did a whole expose on fried chicken grease and how at a certain temperature, fried chicken grease turns into a linoleic oil. That is number one causes in hypertension, high cholesterol, clogging the arteries, and get this, everybody, if you didn't see the joint before, here it is now. It leads to anger and depression and roller coaster emotional disturbances. So you in the hood, and you got limited funds, you got to eat on $20 for a week or whatever the situation might be, right? Until you get paid again, right? And the cheapest thing that you can get at the supermarket for you and your children is chicken. So you cook up a great old batch of that chicken with that, with that oil in it, that canola oil, that soybean oil, that vegetable oil, that, grandma grease on the counter oil. right? You know how grandma make that fish grease? I said, baby, don't you throw that grease away. And then you reuse it to fry your chicken, and then your chicken tastes like fish. Or vice versa, right? So now studies have shown that that same oil at a certain heated to a certain temperature becomes a lanolinic oil, deadly for the heart, arteries and veins, and deadly for your psyche, emotions. Go wild with it. Now the same soybean oil, the same um, canola oil is being used to coat vegetables and fruits that you are sending your kids to school with every day. Thanks, Uncle Bill. You're the greatest. That's my take. That's my take. That's my story on that one. And I'm sticking to it. Similarly, Canada. You may soon be eating more gene-edited food thanks to Canada's updated seed rules. Organic sector calls for mandatory registry, says relaxed seed oil rules puts her produce at risk. This is a farmer in Canada, and Canada recently relaxed the standards for GMO. So they're going to join America, and they're being fought by Mexico. So you're understanding, and of course, Bill Gates is doing a beyond farming in Montana and areas of Minnesota. But Canada recently has dropped the rubric or the standards, if you will, for GMOs that protect us from GMOs, genetically modified organisms, being in the seeds, i.e. being in the food. Mexico is the one that is trying to fight this because Mexico is a big corn buyer from the United States. And they feed their animals with it, they raise it. And if it's, genetically modified, that could jack up their end of the market and their people for that matter. And they don't want to do any of that. Shout out to Mexico. Thumbs down. Boo boo on you to Canada and the United States. That's my take on that. This particular author, Kristen's Kitchen, mentioned that Oprah, Katy Perry, and Bill Gates had invested in this chemical pill here. And Oprah is in the news again for other things outside of that. Oprah is in the news for other things outside of just that. Because Oprah is an entrepreneur or a businesswoman who has reached the billionaire status, billionaire class, billionaire elitism, if you will. And she got all kind of bones just falling out. So here's a bone. She down with the bad wax fruit campaign. And here's another bone falling out of Oprah's mouth. By bone, I mean secret lie, thing that was not intended to be let into the public consciousness. If she had it her way. And that is this right here. Oprah Winfrey says narrative of most Black fathers being deadbeats and absent in the household is a lie. Highlights recent research to prove it. Oprah Winfrey says the narrative, okay, that's the same thing on the opposite side, but just a little more of, a kaleidoscope, if you will, of Black men that she has to look at. Because these brothers' images should be haunting her. It's been about 3 strong decades that she has been on this crusade to defame, dehumanize, and emasculate the image of Black men in macro society. And now that we have a full-on gender war in our community, it's okay to let go of these individual little nuggets of untruth. Shame on you. Shame on you, Oprah. Shame on you and the bones falling out your mouth. If anybody wants to, I'm not going to go too deep on this because I did it in another show. But here's an article by the CDC that we did on another show that you can go back and look at. CDC reports fathers' involvement, Black fathers' involvement, prove that Black dads are the most involved, according to Pew Research. You can check that out. And that's actually a sister who wrote the article, and that's her family. And we holding it down. We holding it down. But Oprah, you're wrong for that. You're wrong for that. And that karma is going to swing. That karma going to swing. That karma is going to swing. And I'm glad I got you here with me because we here for this tonight. We started a little early so we can get all of the advertisements and whatnot in before we start talking. But we are here for Brother Malcolm's legacy. Brother Malcolm. That's right. The Prince Shabazz, if you will. He is the rubric. He is the shining example of manhood, leadership, integrity, and knowledge. And we love. And his birthday just passed. Shout out to all my fraternals and Malik's from coast to coast, all throughout the diaspora. I see you. We here for Brother Malcolm because he left a shining example for all men to see of what true fatherhood looks like. And I think throughout the decades, brothers have gotten the message. If there was a problem with brothers being present in the family structure, regardless to what the reason is, and the reason isn't always brothers are just deadbeat people. There are layered upon layered reasons. We won't jump down that rabbit hole on this show, but in another show we will. But in this particular show, I had a epiphany, if you will, because I'm looking at all of the economic news and I'm looking at all of the twists and turns, and it's a real power struggle. And within that power struggle, I always like to ask this particular question within the confines of any power struggle. What in the world does this have to do with us? Right? So I'm there thinking, what in the world do all these economic power struggles have to do with us? You know? And I came up with some interesting conundrums, some interesting propositions, if you will. Of course, we play chess, not checkers over here on the Real HD show. That means we think, we put mind in motion before we put mouth or body in gear. And we love to get it in on a deeper level. And if you would like to get it in on a deeper level with us, join the show. That's what it's for. This is your higher discussion show where we think about the Afrocentric or Afrofuturism of it all. What do we look like now, past, present, and future? But before we do that, we go to our ancestors and elders blueprint. It's right here on the Real HD for you. And it's none other than Brother Malcolm X with some healthy words for us on the, you know, aftermath of what was his birthday. He has some healthy things for us to say thanks to Hip Hop Cartoons. Please go on Hip Hop Cartoons and patronize that brother's channel. Make sure you are subscribing, liking, and sharing all of it. His brother is the King Shabazz himself, getting it in. Real HD Show.
The white man speak for you, and don't let the white man fight for you.
Well, I think to teach a man to hate himself is much more criminal than teaching him to hate someone else. And look at you. Who taught you to hate yourself?
Well, it's one of our boys.
The sun shines bright in my old Kentucky home. Don't beat me, master. Please don't beat me, master. Don't beat this tired old body. No, don't.
It makes the so-called Negro unable to stand on his own two feet. He has no self-confidence. He has no proud confidence in his own race. Because the white man destroyed your and my past, destroyed our knowledge of our culture. And by having destroyed it, now we don't know we have any achievements, any accomplishments. And as long as you can be convinced that you never did anything, you can never do anything.
The beat of the tom-toms to send messages from one tribe to another is still used by the natives.
Grab me, mama, with a boo-hoo-hoo-hoo beat.
What do he say?
He say, boop, titty, boop, titty, boop, 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 titty, boop, titty, boop, titty, boop, 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 boop.
This is why the white man, his little children, he tells them about George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, all these white heroes. But we are never taught about any black heroes. Only someone we're shown in history is my grandfather was picking cotton.
Gone are the days when my heart was young and gay. Gone are my friends from the cotton fields away. Gone all the work I do.
Cotton picking don't move me. No. But when it comes to teaching the black people something about great black men who stood their ground, who were scientists, who were civilizers, who were fathers of culture and civilization, the white man has shrewdly written that role out of the textbook. And today, the effect that it has on you and me, we don't think we can stand on our own two feet.
My Uncle Sammy, here comes the freedom man.
Sieg Heil!
Sieg Heil!
Sieg Heil!
Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil!
Sieg Heil, boy! I'm from South Germany.
That mean old queen, she shows a fight, but her gal so white is dynamite.
We wake up, we clean up, and we stand up. And once we can stand up like a man on our own feet, we stop begging the white man. And we stop apologizing to the white man. We stop compromising with the white man. Then the world will look at us with recognition and respect. But as long as you run around here wearing the white man's name, bragging about you one of the Joneses, or one of the Browns, or one of the Smiths, or as long as you run around here bragging about your part in this so-called American democracy, then you will always be looked down upon as a chump by the white man. You never will be given recognition nor respect. Your problem will continue to go unsolved, and we'll still be in the same rut or ditch 1,000 years from now that we're in right now.
All right, we are back. Real HD Show. Let me fix the prompter and fix the mic really quick, and let's get to it. Yeah, man, that was our elders and ancestors' blueprint. Because a lot of times our elders and our ancestors give us the answers, and we get so caught up in the complexities of what we believe complexities of modern times. That we don't think to just go right back, check out what the ancestors had to offer, and bust a move. You know what I mean? We'll plan our work and work our plan. So we are here for what? We are here at the, on the shoulders of brothers like this who gave his life to and for our folks. And we just saw, and his birthday just passed. Right here in the Rock, we had a dedication over 2 days to the brother. Lots of events. It's the second annual festival. And we want you guys to check out whatever videos are on Facebook. You can go on CJI's Facebook page. They have some things. You can go on BERR, BERR. They have some things on there. You can also go on the Nation of Islam's Facebook page. They have a lot of what happened over the weekend posted on their website to honor Brother Malcolm X, his legacy, and his family. And we do it here on the Real HD, because that was the dude. He was super dope. He had the wherewithal and the vision to want to see his people progress, to want to see his people triumphant through all the travails that went on here in North America. Got a couple more news stories to get to. We're going to fly through these things. Important, though. Monroe County legislator president wants to ban the box. I'm going to read a little bit about this. If you guys got anything to say, chime in. Let's get to it. Rochester, New York County legislator Sabrina Lamar announced last Tuesday her submission to ban the box on county employment applications. Ban the box, formerly named for the Monroe County Fair Chance Employment Act, refers to the inquiry on Monroe County employment applications about an applicant's criminal history. The legislation says that those with criminal history face discrimination in many areas of life, including employment. It goes on to add that a stable employment is one of the best predictors of post-jail success. The goal of the proposed legislature is to prevent the discrimination of applicants for Monroe County positions based on criminal history during the application process. This is what Lamar says currently, quote, local ban the box laws like one proposed now in Monroe County will give thousands here at home more opportunities to enter careers that build generational wealth. Center for Community Alternatives says. But we need to also consider hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers across the state who have been kept out of work, out of school, out of housing by an old record. We need our state legislature to pass this clean slate act, and we need them to do it now. All right. So there you go. Sabrina Lamar doing her part to make sure that the social inequalities don't remain inequalities. I know the stop and frisk era in the city of New York, and I believe in Rochester, New York, put a hurting and a large shadow over the progression that brothers can have in trying to procure homes, procure businesses, get employment, even keep relationships. Because of course, if you can't keep a job, then it's hard to support a family and it's hard to maintain a relationship. You gotta have a strong sister these days if you're unemployed and she's ready to ride and stay and roll with you. Strong sister. If y'all some strong sisters listening to the Real HD Show right now, and y'all got something to say about Sabrina Lamar in her effort to ban the box, put it in the chat. Let me hear it. Okay. So we want to get to something else real quick. It's 30 after, not quite. 26 after. We got about 5 minutes. But here's one of the more interesting things that I thought about. And then, of course, we start talking about BRICS, CBDC with the WEF, the US Fed now, Texas Gold Bullion, CBDC, and we start talking about WEF's insidious hand in everything that's going on financially right now, putting a lot of pressure on a lot of, countries and businesses across the world to install their version of the Great Reset, right? So in that, we want to post, and I'm not, listen, we just report the news, and we try not to be xenophobic as much as possible. So we try to report and show you the raw titles that are out there. And here's a raw title about the WEF, the WEF. Check it out. The World Economic Forum is ordering schools to force children to watch pornography for their own good. Once again, this is we got Brother Mozzie jumping on. Hey,
what's up, man? What's up?
What's going on, brother? How you feeling?
Oh man, it's been busy, tired.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Usual stuff, man. Usual life stuff.
Yes, sir. Well, let me catch you up, man. Thanks for joining the show. Thanks for jumping on. Let me catch you up. We're in the middle of this story about the WEF, but we'll come back to that. But let's go back to a local story, because you, like me, we're local with each other in this municipality, in the region and the area that we live in. Are you hip to this story about Sabrina Lamar and bandbox legislation?
Saying that you didn't commit a crime or something like that?
Well, it's going to prevent, especially if you're an employee of Monroe County, either municipal or at large. And of course, those are some of the largest employers in the area. It prevents them from looking into your criminal past. If your criminal past wasn't something of the heinous nature. So if you got a felony for a traffic ticket, or a felony for truancy, or a felony for something frivolous, but it accrued into a felony category, she wants to enforce legislation for brothers and sisters and the youth, like weed charges, things like that, so that they can get employment and that they can start getting employed, or either creating generational wealth through opportunities throughout the county.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the movement that's been going on for some time now. What I don't understand about this is that this is something that they have been trying to do now with the city and the county for some time. And even when they had the numbers in the county to pass the legislation, it never got passed. And the question is, why wouldn't it get passed when, for example, the time the county had all the Democrats in office and they had the power?
Yeah, man. What's up with that attrition? You know what I'm saying?
So is it, once again, most of our issues, especially when it comes to race, is it we should be concerned about the boogeyman called Republican, or should we realize that there's a stranger, the enemy is within, and the Democratic Party, which most of us subscribe to?
I'm glad you said that, man, because that's why we're here tonight. We're here for this, because I have this is a pondering question, if you will, not something that we want to entertain long term, but we should entertain all things if they're plausible toward a progressive future. So in honor of Brother Malcolm and his international focus, if you will, should we consider joining BRICS as an incorporated nation or not? And we'll jump into that a little bit. I wanted to ask you your opinion on a couple things before we get too deep, before we jump down the rabbit hole too far. I wanted to ask your opinion on this to see if you are hip to it. I know you are, so I just gotta get your opinion on it because we just went through it, and I gotta put it back up there because you, like myself, have had decades of traversing this particular issue. I got 3 in the hole. You have many. You have a lot of children yourself, and this just recently came out.
Got a lot of children, man. I got 2 kids, man.
Oprah
And I
Winfrey.
know I only got 2.
Yes, sir.
But
Yes,
now
sir.
I feel you, man.
Yes, sir. Now, but I mean, you coach, so those your babies too. You know.
Yeah.
So it says Oprah Winfrey says that the narrative of most Black fathers being deadbeats and absent fathers in the household is a lie, and highlights recent research to prove it. I mean, I don't have to go too far past that because we
Yeah,
remember.
we all know that was a lie.
Yeah, we remember the 80s. We remember Salad Jesse Raphael, and we remember Geraldo and all the shows.
Yeah, everybody
All the media, all the reports. You know, you could shake that off of you if you wanted to. They was trying to make you wear that coat. They was trying to make you wear that monkey on you wherever you went. Your thoughts?
Man,
Your
and the
thoughts on
sad thing
Oprah
about
and
that
all the
is,
bones flying out that mouth right now. She dropping a lot of bones in this one.
well, you know, it's interesting too because that has been in there. Oh, excuse me. And the sad thing is, Black feminists in particular have bought into the nonsense.
Right.
I don't need no man. But remember when report? I don't know if you've seen the report that came out some time ago. Said that Black men are probably the most involved of all racial groups that exist in the U.S.
Yes,
Are
sir.
the most involved of all the fathers.
Yes, sir. CDC report.
And here's another good one that people gonna have to recognize. Yep, are the most involved. When you look at gender confusion, when you look at criminality, and you look at single women, female-headed households versus single male-headed household, that those things are practically non-existent coming from a single male-headed household. The majority of them, if not all of them, come from a female-led household.
Yeah, this brother who's in England, his name is Cyril Garvey. He has a couple of YouTube channels. He's been through a couple things, but he has this short on YouTube, and he runs down a whole list of why single-led households from women are like super duper dangerous, and we should stay clear of that, and promote, togetherness within families as much as possible. I'm glad you on here, man, because I got Mozzie's Blacktastic takes. Let's go. Let's go. So Mozzie Blacktastic takes, man. Mozzie sends me all of these really, really dope articles and shorts and clips, and we try to send them back and forth to one another. But I want to honor this brother's diligence and work and everything that he tries to do in his spare time, and him sharing it with the show. So we're gonna put on Mozzie's Blacktastic take, and I have 2, and one it has to do with our topic for the evening, and one is kind of old, but I'm gonna put it on anyway. Let's see. Okay, here we go. This is one of Mozzie's Blacktastic takes, and then Mozzie's gonna break it down the science of why he chose to send the show this particular clip. Release the show. Check it out.
I'm going to stick you a little bit here. I want to make sure you feel nothing. Yep, all done. Okay, can I have that, please? And there's your number that's inside.
And then it's put in a small glass capsule, and it is injected into your body, just like a shot of penicillin. As I mentioned previously, there's a product on it called BioBond that immediately upon injection forms a pseudo-scar tissue inside your skin so that the chip doesn't migrate. There's no power source in the chip. It lies dormant underneath your skin for years, and it's only awakened when a scanner is waved over the area where the chip is implanted.
And feed it to the very tip. So you get this thing working. It's searching. Okay, and then a number should pop up. And that will be the number.
The chip itself does not have any location technology capabilities such as GPS. The product is tiny. It's the size of a grain of rice. Today, it is impossible to put a GPS receiver and a GPS transmitter inside a product the size of a grain of rice. So the chip itself is purely for identification, only holds a 16-digit code for you. That is your identification number.
I'm going to read.
All right, I think that's it. Yeah, man. So that's Mozzie's Black-tastic take. So what's up, brother? What was the science behind picking this particular clip, and what should the people know?
You know, we've had conversations about, you know, not getting the shot, but I think one of the things that people forget when taking these shots is that it's conditioning you to do other things. I don't like needles, so in order to get me to take that, you know, you have to, you know, mess with my brain and my mind such that I'm going to, one, get a shot, but two, when it's time to give you something like that, you say it's okay. And what people don't realize and understand is that sometimes you get in these shots, you don't know if they're actually injecting this stuff in you or not. The technology, that clip right there seems like it's very old. It looks like, you know, early 2000s or something like that, because the technology has definitely gotten a lot better to where they can inject chemicals into you that'll give off, you know, electronic properties and GPS locations and things of that nature. And the main thing is just to understand, man, we're moving into, as Aldous Huxley would say, a brave new world. And we got to be prepared, man.
Yes, sir.
You really got to be. I mean, we can get into all types of stuff, but if they've been listening to the show, they should understand where we're going with a lot of this stuff. But you got to just know what's out there and be prepared, man.
Yeah, man. I don't like the clip, but I like the information. I like to be armed with the information from the clip. And one of the things that they talked about was the way that when they inject you, it creates a small space of scar tissue so that the particular injection will sit and it won't migrate throughout the body. Now, what happens if that particular, this is just a question for the audience and for Brother Mozzie, what happens if that particular device and the scar tissue doesn't set in? And that thing begins to migrate throughout the body and the bloodstream. And
the body starts rejecting it as a foreign object.
Right. It's a pathogen now. And now you start getting the, you know, adverse reactions and ooh.
And what was that movie where they were putting I'm trying to remember who it was, but they put same thing, putting a little like a little grain or whatever in the back of the neck so they can blow your brain out at the end. And then also remember in Denzel Washington's what was the one that Denzel Washington did? He was the army guy, and they had put the thing in they all had a little pea-size.
Manchurian Candidate.
Manchurian
right?
Candidate.
Yeah. So they've been rocking that theme for a minute. They also had it in that Bruce Willis movie, Looper.
Never saw that one.
Where the guy was jumping back and forth from the past to the future.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
Like a butterfly effect.
He's but I get what you're saying. Yeah,
paramilitary dude and telling him not to mess up the time continuum. You know, those same themes, you know.
Well, remember what Neely Fuller said, man. White supremacy will tell you what it's doing, what it's done, and what it's about to do.
Yeah, man, Hollywood is the biggest rat. Hollywood give it all up.
They tell you, man, but we all get
Hollywood give
into it
it
like,
all.
oh, did you see that movie, man? That thing, oh Lord. And everybody like, yeah, can you imagine? And then we want to put it on our kids. Remember the time when people used to walk around with leashes on their kids, man, in the mall?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the things that people do, the inconvenience people seem to have, or the pop culture-ness of people, man. It, putting your child on a leash.
Speaking of pop culture of it all, let's jump right into this, man, and we'll jump into the main story so we can give that some time to breathe as well. But I gotta get this in. This is retarded on roller skates. This is crazy with a wheelbarrow going downhill, an avalanche. I'm just gonna throw it out there. World Economic Forum is ordering schools to force children to watch hardcore pornography for their own good. What more do people need to realize that these people, WEF, Schwab, Clintons, etc., are all demons straight from the pits and sent here to corrupt our children and steal souls? So there's a whole, if you go on this particular Twitter post, there's a whole documentary of the Clintons and their, I guess, Epstein connection, and how the Epstein connection with the Clintons got them funnying with the kids, and how their kids turned out a little bit of funny bunny too. But bigger and more important than that is, are we going to, at some point, we had sex ed in school, but are they at some point going to try to implore pornography, hardcore pornography into school, and somehow try to make it educational? What's your thoughts, man?
Listen, man, we know that NAMBLA has been working overtime behind the scenes, and people keep forgetting NAMBLA wasn't just some fringe group of people. NAMBLA was, teachers, professors, billionaires, millionaires, and they wanted to make mainstream them in the age of consent with boys. But how do you do that? You start creating all this other mess. So when it comes down to messing with boys, it's like, ain't no problem. They're doing all that over there. At least they're loving.
Right.
That's their way of, well, at least we're loving. Come on, man.
Right. Over in Davos, right? All of that is free over there, right? After they get done with their meetings in Davos,
Mm-hmm.
they go into the hanky panky room.
There you go.
Start popping off, eyes wide shut, just get wild with it. Yeah, man, I can't imagine something like this being mainstream. Now,
and just real quick,
go ahead.
they didn't even say just porn. They want them involved in violent porn. Hardcore. A lot of that hardcore porn, from what I thought, I'm assuming that's what they mean, is violent porn.
I was reading another part of it. It said we must be relentless in our fight against the wickedness. I keep saying it. This is a spiritual war against the forces of evil in a realm we cannot see. Yeah. And then, of course, you got the Saturnalia Satan festival that popped off a little while ago.
Yeah.
Right. And then now this stuff is coming out. And what does this have to do with us? That's a critical piece right there, because we like to think of ourselves outside of this, but are we really outside of this? Are we really outside of these particular confines and what they're trying to implore? Are we just willing participants? Are we just gonna, Are we just gonna, you know, through voluntary consent to it?
I think we're gonna have a few of our people who are gonna voluntarily consent. But the interesting thing is, you know, this just proves what Michael Bradley wrote about in his book, The Iceman Inheritance, when he talked about the psychosexual maladaptation. And, you know, what other way to describe it?
Yeah, man. That was also in what was the slavery book about antebellum slavery, the psychosexual nature
Yeah.
of antebellum slavery. I forget the name it's called. Is it called
Man.
Skin something?
Something like that. You hit me to that book last.
Yeah. Man, I'll remember it in a second. I'll remember it in a second because that book is so deep. Go try to check out that book. And this particular story is interesting because we play chess, not checkers over here. So we just not going to feed into the corn chowder and just dump our head in it and yuck it up like, you know, it's last night's, you know, leftover pizza, and just blank out with it. We like to think a little deeper than that. And we know that there's a divide. We know BRICS has come together to challenge the US dollar. We know Fed Now is coming out in July, which is going to usher in the CBDC for America. And last week, in one of the shows, I also did an expose on Texas putting out its own CBDC that's gold backed. So that's why I say, you know, you can't really try to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Now, I don't doubt that that's true because, of course, the WF, they not pulling no punches. They letting you know what they gonna do, how they gonna do it, and how they want to do it. But the sensationalism is kind of Fox News-ish to me. You know, I'm smelling Fox News all over that. What's your thoughts? I'm smelling the conservative goofies all over that, trying to sway the Jim Bobs and the and the Katie Sues in a certain direction with the super hype. You know what I mean? What's your thought?
Well, you know, it just reminds me that they're just some special folks, man. They really are. And the sad thing is, our people tend to, you know, there's a number of us. I don't know if you noticed that. I think I might have sent you one with the brother. He's a cop or former cop, and he wants to show that, you know, it was the slaves that the slave owners were black, and you know they want to let you think they all white. And I'm sitting here like, this dude doesn't know where this dude just come from, man. And dudes like that, they drink the Kool-Aid and they get the platforms, and they send out information that it's not that it's correct or incorrect, it's out of context, which makes it in the bigger scheme of things just doesn't, you know, it just makes the story just, you know, it's not a good story, man. And so what happens, and he's polished. So, you know, and he's I think he was a former police officer. So that right there gives him a certain level of respect, and for whatever reason. And then next thing you know, you got folks who's like, oh, I like what this brother's saying.
Yeah. What do you think of, because there's a trend going on online. I'm not sure if you're aware. You familiar with Thomas Sowell, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think he's brilliant.
In some of his academic works.
Academically, he is brilliant.
No, academically, he's on point. But like you said, a lot of the stuff that he brings out, and when he brings it out, a lot of it's out of context, and it's very skewed in a certain direction and in a certain purview. So there's a lot of young people, my son's age and younger, jumping into the Thomas Sowell information about slavery some of the facts that that America in its poor education hasn't taught folks,
Right.
and they're like flabbergasted and in the shock and awe phase of some of the unexplored facts about slavery,
Right.
like the fact that there were some black people that owned slaves. So now they believe that that is a lie by the school system. School system kept information from them, and life is all upside down and inside out. I never knew this, and it's kind of all over from all kind of regions overseas in America.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thought on the Thomas Sowell and his convenient facts that people, and of course a lot of that stuff is sound bites and sound clips.
Right.
So if you're not getting the full, talking points. So if you're not getting the full context of the before and after to what he was saying, then of course you can sensationalize it and make it. What's your thought on the Thomas Sowell piece?
Well, Thomas Sowell is an economist.
Uh-huh.
You know, and so he talks from that vein. If people don't know who Thomas Sowell is, I mean, he was a young scholar, man. I mean, by the time the guy was in his, I think, what, mid to early 20s, he was a PhD, well written, well read, and he's never taken a stance politically, and he's never veered outside of the realm of economics that he lives in. So the information that he's going to give you will not be in context. It will be from a certain standpoint, and that's it. So yeah, some black people own slaves. Now put it in the larger context. How did these black folks come to own slaves? You know, what was going on that there was even, they even had the freedom to have slaves.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then not only that, okay, so no matter where you go in the world, there's going to always be exceptions. There's always going to be collaborators. So that always happens. But one thing it doesn't do, it doesn't happen on a mass scale. So, okay, so you found a handful that engaged. And then the other part too, what kind of, were they having the kind of slavery that their white counterparts had, where they were trying to sleep with all the women and children? You know what I mean?
Right.
And you let you get married. As soon as you get married, they go and take your wife and sleep with her, let you know they ain't charged. But I don't consider you to be a human. You know, do they have that kind of craziness going on? So it's a lot of things that we can talk about and we can add on to it and put it in certain context. But Thomas Sowell, Walter Williams, those guys are just straight economists, man. They do not buy into politics. They leave the politics alone.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think you should conflate or overinflate their message, unless you have, and I would, if you're out there and you're younger than 35, I would suggest you get with someone who's well read and then look at the Thomas Sowell video. And then have a conversation with that older person. If they're just about 55, between 55 and 35, have a conversation with that person about the information that you just received. And it will take the sensationalism out of it. It'll take the bite out of what it is that you just heard or you just received. And you'll be able to accept it as information that you can do something with, instead of information that you got to fear or information that you got to run around like Chicken Little about,
Well, the interesting thing, too, is, I guess the question is, why is Thomas Sowell all of a sudden trending again?
There you go.
You know what I mean? Thomas Sowell has been out there for a long time. And I know you've had to run across him either in a newspaper article, because he was a syndicated columnist, and he was in almost every about 100, 200 newspapers nationwide. He was all over YouTube and always has been, taught at some of the best universities in the planet. Why all of a sudden he wasn't getting no play back then? Why is he getting all the airplay now?
and they're not floating around the Thomas Sowell confrontation with Joe Biden in the halls of Congress. So you'll have him exploding and sensationalizing some sort of fact here or there, or up or down or in or out, but you don't show him standing up for black people and doing the dirty work against white supremacists. And Joe Biden wasn't Sleepy Joe back then. He was Joe. He was Jim Crow Joe with a rocket in his pocket, and unabashedly discriminatory, even though he's from Pennsylvania. And Sowell went up against him in Congress straight up and let him know, yo, y'all was some evil asses. Like, I'm an economist, but I know some evil asses when I see it. I'm paraphrasing. So don't just jump into the Thomas Sowell stuff. Look at all of it. He was a young man with fire in his belly at one time, and he put it down. So, let's not twist it up. But with all of that said, man, we want to get back to Malcolm, man, because Malcolm had of course, it was his birthday recently, and
had a great celebration this weekend, brother. I thought I was going to see you out there.
Yeah, man. Things were tight, man. I had to kind of rally with the family and take care of some matters at home, and I promoted it like crazy. So I'm glad, it had a good, a good turnout and a good showing. I'm glad. I'm really happy about that. But like Brother Malcolm, he had an international focus. He wanted us to be more abroad. He wanted us to stem ties with our brothers and sisters in the motherland. He went on a tour, found some enlightenment in some areas that he otherwise wouldn't have if he stayed in America. And it made me start thinking about what are we doing and how are we acting in his stead and and within the confines of his legacy. Or where's our international focus? Where's our diaspora presence, if you will? Or where's our presence on the international stage, like the WEF or the national elites, or even the BRICS continuum as it is, and they're gaining a lot of steam and they're gaining a lot of momentum. So I'll just show that real quick so people get hip to what I'm talking about. The BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, but they're all rushing to challenge the U.S. dollar by way of all distribution and solidarity through the oil dollar in their own name, and they want to create their own CBDC, central bank digital dollar. Americans want to do the same thing, but America is leaning more on the WEF, World Economic Forum, I guess, perspective on how to implement things. But Texas and 20 other states like it want to input gold back CBD. What do you think? You hip to that, bro? Gold back CBDs.
Yeah. What they're trying to do is they're trying to add value back to have the dollar, our currency, backed by something, no matter what our currency is. It's like, if y'all want to go, central digital currency, have it backed by something. And that's the fundamentals of what they're doing, is making sure everything has a value to it. So you can't just go out there and just print it up out of thin air all the time. And that's the main reason why they're doing it. And plus, these are the folks who don't want to, fall prey to, to all the craziness on the planet, man. They've been screaming this now. The oh my gosh, I forgot the people. The Ralph Eppersons of the world and people like that who've been talking about one world government and and the manipulation of people and society, and they're saying this is one of the many pieces that creates that.
Right.
So we got to make sure we put ourselves in position so that doesn't happen.
So my question is, this is obviously a power grab.
Yep.
Because when you manipulate the money, you manipulate the stance on power. You manipulate the hegemony.
Mm-hmm.
And you see three groups fighting. Got these guys, and then these guys, right? And they're fighting for the hegemony of the rest of the 21st century economically and what that's going to look like. And then, of course, economics leads to development. Development leads to how people socialize and so on and so forth. Where are we in that? Where are our 44 million melanated folk in the United States? Where are we in this deal? We have a bigger GDP and a bigger population than almost 20 African countries. But we're nowhere to be found in the BRICS scale of things. We're nowhere to be found in the national elites scale of things. And we're nowhere to be found in the Fed now, WEF scale of things. What's your thoughts on that, man? That's
the reason being is because we don't have a GDP. What we have is we have wages that allows us to be consumers in the economy, which is different than GDP, because GDP kind of denotes that you produce something, and we produce nothing. So how are we going to get involved if you don't have anything that you own and produce to be a player? Because if they shut down all the factories and all the jobs tomorrow, only those who own will be the ones who will continue on. Though most of us don't own. We don't even have a critical mass. And then we're not even in industries that are, I can get my thoughts right. Losing words. We don't have industries that are made of necessity. You know, we don't produce medical supplies. We don't grow our own food. We don't build our own homes. We flip in homes on, in select parts of the country because some of us engage in the real estate game, but nothing on a large enough scale to where, we're major players. So, and we're like a ship with no shore. Where are we gonna go? What are we gonna do? And part of this is because we don't have a philosophy or ideology. Well, we do have one, but we've been told not to pay attention to that ideology. And so what happens is we've not built for ourselves. And as esteemed brother, ancestor Amos Wilson used to say, we the love folk. We just want people to love us and like us. Or otherwise, we could have moved to an area of this country and built it up for ourselves. Just us for us, by us. But because we love the white man so much.
Yeah, that part.
Remember that, you ever see that skit with Robert Townsend? And the guy was like, come on, man, we about to escape. He said, well, where we gonna go?
Right.
Baltimore? Where's Baltimore?
Is that the Paul Mooney skit?
Yeah, it was one of the ones that he wrote for Robert Townsend on there, man. And he was like, and leave this good white man. We give 3 meals a day. Man, we can't see our. What's so funny? In a very twisted kind of way.
Go ahead.
White people have a psychopathic racial personality. They're preoccupied with black folks. They may not ever say it, but every time anything that goes on in this world, they are preoccupied with us and the decisions that they make and everything else. And the unfortunate thing about us is that we have a pathological love affair with white people, and we can't see ourselves without them.
Damn if you do and damn if you don't.
There
So
you
what's
go,
interesting
man.
about that clip that you just talked about, I wish I had it.
I was gonna look for it, man.
Because I think it's like a clip, and then they go and sing and take, and then they go flag acting school, and then the guy comes up and has a British accent.
Yes.
And he's like, what I learned from the black acting school was, you know, they go through this whole diatribe of they way out of they code switching. They're code switching. So they're showing you how to be a melanated person on the planet. You gotta learn how to code switch.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. But I want to get back to the topic of the show because I wondered, in kind of a theoretical standpoint, would we consider joining BRICS as an incorporated nation? So what do I mean by that? Well, in 1871, America incorporated itself because they were bankrupt. So they had to borrow money from foreign entities to fund and get themselves out of what was the Civil War, and or the remnants or the backlash of the Civil War. And then, unbeknownst to the people, they incorporated the District of Columbia, and then conflated the Constitution of the United States from the old parchment and document that once was into a brand new document. So instead of it said for the people of the United States, it now becomes of the people of the United States, you know, changing the tense. And then now, of course, you invoke the Fed and the Treasury and where the taxation goes. And in a theoretical sense, if we were to do what you suggest and unify and mobilize and get things going, would joining the BRICS nations be a temporary solution, or at least a power play, if you will, to what we've been going through and what we've been traversing here in this country? For a number of reasons, I pondered this. I pondered this from a perspective of, you know, loans and redlining and how we were denied those sorts of things. I pondered that from a reason of incarceration and how in the 1940s, when the Scottsboro boys went through what they went through, the only people to give them funding, legal funding to defend themselves, as far as that even went, were Russians. And I'm not saying that that's a long-term solution. I'm saying it's a solution to ponder if we're ever going to change, if we're ever going to turn this into anything worthwhile. Can we attempt some nation building by giving ourselves more of an international presence amongst the BRICS countries? Because according to an article, and I'm gonna load it up right now. I'm not gonna read much of it, but I just want to show people the headline. BRICS nations has over 41 countries looking to accept BRICS currency. So sometimes when you're in a position of, I guess I should keep that up there a little bit longer. Sometimes when you're in a position and you can see the forest for the trees and you need to bust a move, like your old grandpappy or your old uncle say, hey, shorty, you need to bust a move. So the world is moving in a certain direction. The money is moving. The money is changing. Governments are moving. Governments changing. 15-minute cities. I mean, if you've been listening and you've been paying attention to the show, you know that WEF is trying to put all kinds of goulash and hogwash in the mix and change up exactly how life as we know it is going to look like in another 10 years. So from a purely theoretical standpoint, I know we got a long way to go, but would joining the BRICS nation as an incorporated melanated country or nation, I don't care what we call ourselves, Melanopolis or whatever the hell we want to call
I
ourselves.
like that, Melanopolis.
Melanopolis or you know, Blacktastic Nation 23. I don't know, whatever we want to call ourselves. Would it be prudent to try to bust a move and be amongst the BRICS nations as a contender on a global scale? What's your thoughts?
I would say anything that requires us to come together, one, to engage in economics in particular, because this is more an economic move than anything else.
Right.
I think we need to give it. I think we need to seriously consider it because we've considered everything under the sun but that, but economics.
Mm.
You know, we've tried religion, we tried politics, but we still think that, you know, we tried affirmative action. You know, we tried history, tried religion. You know, we got all that, but we never dealt with commerce, economy, money. So I say, you know, in theory, I think, you know, we should definitely take a serious look and just make sure that we protect ourselves at all times. Because sometimes I just came from a board meeting, man. Oh Lord, it's like, who entered into these kind of deals, man, to where you just getting screwed. And it's like, and then you sitting there, everybody all fat and happy. Then the other group come in after everybody done left, and you sitting there holding the bag, like, come on, man. So yeah, I think it would be we should, if we can handle some of the basics to get us there. I mean, we would have to definitely adopt, you know, the philosophies of Marcus Garvey. Whether you know the philosophy, we ain't got to like the man, but the philosophy was on point.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I was getting ready
to bring him up.
The other piece is, you know, walk softly, because, you know, the BRICS nations, as much as we want to, you know, people are, you know, some people are, you know, remember like when Wall Street had some issue, had a few hiccups, dudes jumping off the 34th floor of the building. There's people doing that now. When you look at the countries that are involved in the BRICS nations, they all have major fundamental flaws. You know, they're all very overcrowded. Oh, I was getting to that next.
Yeah,
very overcrowded.
Yeah, that's the accountability piece of that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yep, they're all very overcrowded. With ginormous populations.
Right.
Where the majority, I would say, in all those countries, 70% or better of the people still live outside the general function, the general structure of the society. You know, when you look at Brazil's, that's the land of the haves and the have-nots, bottom line. You know, when you look at India, the amount of poor people walking the street in India, you know, no homes, sleeping wherever they sleep. And, you know, China and this manipulation of its currency, and the fact that its yuan ain't really got no real value. Who are some of the, and look at Russia. Russia is probably the epitome of how to run a corrupt country. You know, they're like corruption on steroids. So, yes, BRICS, and we need to jump on. You know, we need to be prepared, but it's going to be a while before BRICS get it together. We need to somehow, while they're trying to get it together, put ourselves in a position that will allow us to, you know, prosper as a people.
Yeah, man. So what made me think of all of that, in lieu of what you're saying, is the California reparations hearings. So I'm watching some of the dialogue, and I'm reading the testimony and whatnot, and now that they're got down to the bare bones of it all, the brother got up there and said, well, if no cash payments, no vote. And I don't know if that circulated amongst us. That was never said in a testimony hearing sort of forum before. So now it's cemented news that that's where we stand with it all, right? And if we did, and then now, of course, Gavin Newsom is against large cash payments for reparations now, all of a sudden. He was the reparations champion of the world for about a year and a half, like Marion, like Williamson, right? Like her.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you gotta face the bare bones of it all and start acting like you got to give up some paper, now all of a sudden you don't like the cash continuum of the whole thing. Do you think us joining BRICS would finally be the leverage that we need to get the things that we've been trying to do within this country for the last 250 years since slavery ended? Or
I know where you're going with that. My answer is no on that.
What's your thoughts?
I think, we were further. Here's when. Here's the funny part about it. I think it's going to happen. Black people, who is, that book said, "Who needs the Negro?" Are people you don't want to deal with and you don't want to be bothered with. If they were to say, do the things that we're talking about and join the BRICS, and then we're part of BRICS Nation, they would then flip the script and say, but why would you leave us? I mean, America's been so great to you, and we want you here, and we'll do affirmative action, and but you love this country better than these other countries. How they're going to like you? I mean, they would literally do and go through all that. You know what I mean? That's the flip that I think would happen if by chance, something like that was to take place.
Yeah, man, because I mean, and I'm not saying this in jest. I'm not saying I'm trying to get us to explore. This is supposed to be a higher discussion, so we're supposed to be thinking and talking about things like this. So if we come up with molymorphic peptides,
yeah,
we come up with the Nutty Professor equation to solve it all. But you gotta first ask the questions. We've had movements like Garvey's movement, where he's paraded in New York and he's paraded in Chicago and he's gathered massive amounts of people to move. We've had the civil rights movement. We've had the Black empowerment movement. I mean, for what it's worth, even BLM, where we've been able to motivate large amounts of people all over the world to move in our plight and for our cause. Now, how those things, the outcomes of those things, not so much. I'm just talking about the ability to mobilize people. Can that be a bargaining tool? Can that be a talent, a commodity, if you will, that may be something that we could leverage in a joining BRICS sort of continuum? What do you think?
I don't know.
I think the people power of it all may have something to say with the way things are and the way things move within the world. They still got to deal with the people. Now they're trying their best to, corral the people, disease the people, micromanage the people, all of the things that they can do to the people so that the people step and fetch and do what they want them to do. If this BRICS theory was, implemented, what talents do you think and this is something for the audience to answer to anybody listening out there on the many, many platforms. What talents do our nation of people have that could be used or be bargained in a larger macro sense that would be valuable to the BRICS
I
nation.
wish somebody in the audience will let us know the talent that we have.
Yes,
And I'm
sir.
not talking about the one-off. I'm talking about in the critical mass.
Yeah, yeah, yep. Hey, we looking for you, man. We out there for you. I put the questions out there. You guys knock them out. So let's hear from you. And if you can't answer right now, please timestamp it. Put it in the comments, and then I will show it next episode, and we will go through it. So lastly, the theory of this is all based on independence. It's all based on some sort of seeing the forest for the trees, understanding that the world is making a move, that hegemony is not stable at the moment, and chaos is a ladder, and you can possibly move in a direction that's forthright and progressive if you ask the right questions and position yourself in the right ways. If not BRICS, what do you think would be a way that we could operate and get these things moving, get the turbines moving, get the thrusters to speed,
Sometimes I just don't know, man. I think we just need to concentrate ourselves in an area, deal with our egoism and build. I mean, we've done it. We've done it in the past. We can do it again. It don't require nothing special except that we all got to be on the same accord.
Woo! Tall order. Put that on the menu. Yeah, man. Do you think that the expats have a say in it? You know, like you're from America, you don't give up your rights, but you go live somewhere else, and then you create a bridge, a diaspora bridge, if you will, so that things can happen here and there, and or has that been done already, and that's kind of old hat? What do you think?
Nah, I think we can still try to do that because I still think we haven't built anything in modern times yet to move us forward.
So, do we need an industrial revolution for the African diaspora? Do we need that? Is that necessary? I'm kind of going through my list of questions.
We do need an industrial revolution that we control.
Right.
They're going through one right now.
Right.
But as you know, China owns it. And then, of course, we sign bad deals, miss a payment, China gets half our country. It's like, come on, man.
Right. That's what Africa's going through right now. They trying to cash in on bad debts. Yeah. Absolutely.
And you know what? It's like, and the Americans, they more or less, they just exploit you. The Chinese are more cunning. And see, one of the problems too, and one of the things that people don't understand is the Chinese is looking to offload some of its people. So that's why the deals and the things that they set up is a little bit different than what we did, because they're trying to offload their people so they can have a place for them to be and not be on mainland China.
So my last question before we jump out of here for the evening, and everybody tune in Wednesday, like, share, subscribe to the channel, is if we don't pay attention and read the bones, read the tea leaves, see the forest for the trees, are we in a position to be absorbed in this land?
No. We would only be absorbed if they find use for us again.
I mean biologically, because of course you see all of the
browning of America,
intersectionality at play. You see all of the destroying of the nuclear family at play. Kids should watch pornography. Any little crazy goofy that they could interject, they're gonna do it. So that's what I mean by absorbed. They try through whatever means they can to deter the birth rates and make people look yellow. Yellow people. Black Thought has the MC, the dope MC. He has a song called Yellow Yellow because he had a vision of, if we're not careful, we're all gonna be running around looking yellow in a minute. So what's your thought, man? We absorption or not?
We're not going to get absorbed, man, unless it benefits them. That's just that simple. I think we got enough data to make it's a great question, but I think we have enough data to we can predict what the answer is going to be.
You think it's going to be what you call one of them things where you take the potion and it backfire? And the like, you get too much of that melanin up in your ass.
Yeah, man.
It just jack you up.
There you go.
You ain't built for this.
So,
yeah, man. The other day, real quick, just a sidebar. I was reading the other day how melanin, especially human melanin, and I don't have the clip, but I was reading it. It was on it was NIH clip, and I was reading that melanin has the most reactive composition to alchemic metals. Isn't that something? That means that our melanin can control and stabilize the alchemy of gold and silver.
That's why when you start digging, archaeologically, whenever you went around and we started digging, what did they find? Started finding these metals.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting.
And they thought we always had them just because, just for costume jewelry.
Yeah, we showing off. We rocking gold.
Right.
We flossing.
But we had a higher meaning. Everything had a higher meaning with us.
Yeah. So it's interesting, that Aramaic connection with melanin and gold. Very, very interesting. Well, we have reached the end of our show. We want to thank Brother Mozzie for jumping on. I know this is a long night for him when he jumps on, but we want to thank this brother, consistent diligence, jumping on the show, adding his opinion. I try to line him up with as many questions as I can. I try to stump him with the centrifugal force question, but he always comes through in the clutch and gives us some great information. And we want you guys to give us great information, man. Timestamp whatever you found interesting about the show. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Let us know if you found this episode interesting, because I want to start a series about things like this, especially, what are we doing in the legacy of Brother Malcolm? What are we doing in the legacy of Dr. Francis Cress Wilson? What are we doing in the legacy of Brother Marcus Garvey? What are we doing in the legacy of all of the really dope ancestors that gave their life and times for us to be here? And I want to start a series like that. We talked about Thomas Sowell. We talked about him too. I want to investigate all of these things and how we can incorporate those things into an Afrofuturism so that we could be progressive moving forward. So for Brother Mozzie and myself, I'm going to say peace. This has been the Real HD Show. And thank you for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe. Peace and walk with power.
Peace.